we've got quite a full evening. And just welcome from sort of Katherine Knight, the chair of our Environment Committee, and Freya Lewis, our student rep. So thank you very much. And then we've got our presenters tonight. Katherine is going to be talking about citizen science. Alison, who is a marine champion, is going to be talking about Portunus, her project, and Eric Holden is going to be talking about the Great Seagrass Survey. So we've got plenty going on this evening. So just very quickly to update you after the last meeting, we had a really good response. Thank you to all of you that did respond on the motion for ocean. So after Debbie doing her presentation, we got 6 of you saying that you were going to move it forward. Really, really pleased, because I'll tell you something, we've been trying to do it with quite a few other people and haven't managed to do it. So we're really pleased that our marine champs have gone forward with Motion for the Ocean. And please, still time to do it, to get into your local council meetings and get that put through as a motion at your local council. And I'll put the link on when I finish talking for you, to just link on to kind of look. All of the templates are there and everything, so it's really easy to do, but it's about making a difference at grassroots level. So that's absolutely brilliant. So thank you. The other area that you did feedback on was about insurance for your areas of doing, so the liability insurance for doing your marine litter picks and various events. And we have put something on the website, and hopefully you've received something from Ali as well. But if you're still unclear about that, please just email ourselves. We'll put our emails in chat, and we can follow up on that again. Webinar schedule. We've decided that we're going to let you have December off to enjoy the festivities of December, and we'll get back together in January. And once again, when I finish talking, I'll put the dates in chat for you. But the next one is going to be January the 13th. So that will be our next update. So we'll have December off and then come back in January. So I think the one last thing was to say thank you so much for sharing your stories, and please keep sending them through to the Marine Champions email address. We're getting some really good stories, and we're starting to share them on blog, social media, and really getting the rhythm moving on the Marine Champion movement. So absolutely, please keep sharing them. We're really seeing some traction with it all. And each time we share a story, we recruit about another 1 or 2 Marine Champions. So I think we're currently up to number 55, which is brilliant, because our target for the end of December was 50. So thank you again for that as well. And then just a reminder of that we're running the prize draw for Marine Champion stories. So actually you can get put in for a draw of a BSAC beanie and a BSAC gilet, which I am modelling, and I think Catherine's modelling as well. So for when you're out on those windy beaches doing your litter picks, you can go into our prize draw for one of our high quality BSAC gilets and beanies, a beanie of your choice, and we've got many colours. So so absolutely, please keep sending in your stories and sharing them. And if you use the hashtag BSAC Marine Champions when you post your story, we will enter you into a prize draw. So just keep sharing them. It's really great that you're doing it. And the closing deadline for that is the 27th of February. So I'll just put a bit of a reminder in the chat on all of those things I've mentioned. So I'm now going to hand on to our first presenter, which is our chair of our environment group. And it's an introduction to citizen science, and it's Katherine. And Catherine's going to speak for about 15 minutes. And depending on timings, we'll either please put your questions into chat, and or we'll be asking questions either at the end of the presentation if we've got time, or at the end of the whole session. So many thanks, and I'll pass over to Katherine. And thanks very much, everyone, for listening to me. And over to Katherine. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for stepping in at the last minute there to pick up the organising off Ali, and hope she's feeling better soon. Lovely to see everyone. There's lots of faces again this evening, so brilliant. Thank you for coming along this evening. I'm going to just pop a short presentation about citizen science on, really just to sort of set the scene for our two fantastic speakers that we've got coming up later this evening, and they've got lots of important information to tell you, so I'll try and keep my bit quite short so that we can get onto their information. But right, I'm going to try and get my presentation up. Hopefully you'll be getting my slideshow. Oh, now I can't see anything other than my slideshow. Mary, is that showing?
Yeah, yes, it's showing. Yep, it's up. Slide 1. Thank you.
Brilliant, excellent. So yeah, just giving a bit of a background into citizen science, and really because it's kind of one of the sort of the 3 pillars of things that we thought are going to be the sort of core activities really for Marine Champion. So we've got the citizen science and the litter collection and the advocacy, like the motion for the ocean, that are kind of sort of the sort of 3 pillars of the activities. So we thought we'd start by touching on citizen science in this webinar, because I think it's one that there's a lot of interest in. I think a lot of people are participating in citizen science in one way or another. Some people have even got their own citizen science projects running, which we'll hear a little bit more about. So yeah, we thought it would be nice to kick off early with a little bit of an introduction to that. So what are we talking about with citizen science? I guess it covers quite a broad remit, essentially. So, but it's generally volunteers collecting data. Usually, in this case, we're sort of talking about environmental data, or data related to the ocean, and it's kind of using that power of people getting out into the world in large numbers in all sorts of places to collect data, usually following like a specific kind of protocol for a specific kind of project. And there can be lots, it can be used in lots of different ways, but I say we're sort of maybe focusing more on the kind of like the marine side of citizen science for this. And like I said, there are lots of different projects. Just a few kind of different examples of these are sort of citizen science projects, sort of ocean related, that are running out there. And I'm sure everyone on this call will have probably be aware of some of these, if not all of these, and participated in some of them, if not all of them as well. And put some UK based ones on. Some are quite sort of geographically kind of niche, I guess, in terms of where they're looking at, like whale track in Ireland. Some of them are much more international, like the Great Global Nurdle Hunt. Can't get my tongue around that. But yeah, again, they sort of cover lots of different things. And so this is just like a really small subsection of ones that you can do in terms of kind of like monitoring ocean health and ocean species. Just a little flavour. And then I guess, why is it important? And it's really the power of the citizen science comes from the lots of people going out and collecting the data, and then usually collecting the data in a standardized way so it can be used to kind of support scientific outcomes. And then obviously it's the outcomes for the environment that we're kind of the most interested in. So I kind of just picked a couple of little sort of success stories. So this is from the Marine Conservation Society, based on the kind of Great British Beach Clean, and the data from the Great British Beach Clean going into the 5p, I think it is, like plastic carrier bag charge, into that kind of like campaigning, and then looking at their data over the years following that campaign, seeing an 80% drop in carrier bags on UK beaches. Also maybe looking at collecting kind of species data, and again this is just kind of one example, but species data, cetacean data, that type of thing, leading into kind of protected areas and sort of governmental policy on marine protection. So we've got that kind of side of things. And then also in a kind of like more sort of research niche specific, but kind of looking again, particularly at divers and snorkelers, looking at these real sort of specific things that we can collect while we're in the water. So maybe it's just looking at things and recording things. Maybe it's taking samples, for example, for eDNA. So that's just a couple. There would be loads more, and we could talk all evening about all the amazing things that you can do with citizen science. But that's just a couple of successful stories to kind of, you know, show the power and the outcomes of these projects. But what we want to think about is, you know, where can we have a real sort of specific role as divers or as snorkelers? And I think we all kind of know, don't we, that we have this really, really unique insight into what's going on beneath the ocean. It's like really well quoted that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about our oceans. And so, you know, as a percentage of the population, so few people get to really properly get in the water and see what we see. So we've got a really, really valuable niche of data that we can collect as divers. And the power is in that data. And, you know, those success stories that we saw, that's where the data is collected kind of following a specific protocol, so that there's a degree of kind of scientific rigor in there, so it can go on and be used for research, or it can be used by kind of like government bodies and things for policy decisions. And so all of the really good citizen science programs have also got a really sort of rigorous process for collecting the data and for validating the data, and then for taking the data on to sort of national database level. And we'll hear that a little bit in the Great Seagrass Survey talk that's kind of coming up later. But yeah, it's that data that you collect, and sometimes some of it feels like you have to submit a bit more data than you might really want to, but it's all that sort of thing that underpins it that's really powerful in sort of making the outcomes from your work. And then I just wanted to introduce a couple of the citizen science programs, that BSAC projects that we've got kind of running in-house. So we've got Operation Oyster, which is about looking out for native oysters on your dives or snorkels, or even sometimes on the beach. You might have seen that on the BSAC website, and you can have a little Google around on the BSAC site and have a look for that. But we're actually gonna, I think that might be January's presentation. Andy, who set that up, is going to come and talk us through the background of that project and also how to do it. And then the other one that we've got that we'd like everyone to try and participate in as well is the Great Seagrass Survey. And again, seagrass quite shallow, so divers and snorkelers, and potentially even sort of you know, kind of shore-based folks in your clubs can get involved with this. So it's really open for everyone to get involved with. It's got that kind of rigorous data process behind it. And we're really lucky that Eric is going to come and give us a bit of a talk about the background, and then also kind of how you guys can actually get involved in the Great Seagrass Survey with your clubs. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Hopefully that's given just a little bit of a really quick background as to, you know, why we're interested in citizen science being kind of one of the pillars of things that we're wanting to do as Marine Champions. And we've got two, I say, great speakers who are now going to give you some really brilliant information. We've got Alison, who's actually running, you know, set up her own citizen science project within her club. So it'd be really interesting to kind of hear about how that process and how that process has gone. And then we've got Eric that founded the Great Seagrass Survey along with BSAC. And so again, he's going to be able to give you like the real lowdown on how to, you know, you could just go right out now and start doing those surveys with your clubs. So how to get involved with that. So I feel that they've got really useful information to share. So I'm not going to talk any longer, and I'm going to move on to them. I don't know if there are any real pressing questions for me right now, or whether we should just move on to the speakers, because I say they've probably got the meat of what we want to cover.
Has anyone got a question? I don't think there's anything in chat, is there, Freya, at the moment? No.
Not at the moment, no.
No. Does anyone want to ask Katherine? It's always interesting to know, I suppose, for me, Katherine, I've always wanted, what is the definition of a citizen science project? You know, because so many people seem to put the labels on I'm doing a citizen science project, and when we're applying for grants for everybody, I've always wondered what is the definition.
I should have asked ChatGPT that before this call, shouldn't I?
Yeah, sorry. I just always want. Well, actually,
Ali might have the proper definition.
Freya could do that. Yeah, Ali, have you got that definition?
Well, I'm trying to think back, but do you remember we were looking at a draft ISO about citizen science divers? It is in there, and it's something to do with it can be run by a scientific organisation or individual, but actually it's gathered, the data is gathered by those who are not traditionally or formally trained in citizen science. So that's what I remember from that date.
Oh, look, Freya's got it.
Hey, Freya.
The collection and analysis of data relating to the natural world by members of the general public, typically as part of a collaborative project with professional scientists. Thank you, Freya.
Thank you, Freya. Brilliant. Cool. Nice. Yeah, useful. Okay, I don't think there's any questions at the moment. If you've got them, please do put your hand up or put it into chat. So I think we'll hand over to Alison, then Katherine. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Brilliant.
Okay. Let's have a go at sharing my screen. It sort of happened a minute ago, but let's have a go.
Yes,
it's there, but it's in my presenter. It's in my presenter mode, isn't it? Let me just
go
to from the beginning, and that one. There we go.
Perfect.
Can you see yourselves though in the corner? Do I need to drop down? No. There we go.
You're all good.
All good.
Well done.
So yes, thank you, Mary, Ali, and Katherine for inviting me to talk about our own little project that's been running for about 18 months now, Portunus, named after the Roman god for harbours, but also the scientific name for velvet swimming crabs and that sort of thing. So I'm the Marine Champion for the Nautical Archaeology Sub-Aqua Club. I'm also a member of South Sea Sub-Aqua Club here on the South Coast. Now, I can't. I didn't try changing slides, did I? Here we go. So the project came about really when our club moved down to the shores of Langstone Harbour, and we're sharing with a sailing club. And I began to sort of be a bit curious about what the harbour was about. I was conscious that the club used to dive and do its training in the harbour back in the 70s, but once clubs get boats or the access to hard boats and things like that, they tend to move away, go as far as you like, and almost diving in a harbour is seen as a waste of time in many respects. And even though you can probably get in when the weather's not great for diving further out to sea, it just really has got forgotten. And then I realised that actually I don't know anything about Chichester Harbour, which is the neighbouring harbour either. And wouldn't it be nice to go and have a look, see what the habitats are, see what's living there, and do a sort of compare and contrast against the two harbours. So the main aims are to record habitats and species, including some of the UK priority species and habitats, things like non-native species as well. Record, as accurately as possible, things like the site, its GPS, look at the sonar. And we've also been working with the Environment Agency to supply them with water data as well, with a large southern water establishment, if I put it that way, at the top of Langstone Harbour. Then it's obviously an issue that the Environment Agency would welcome support on. So I think the whole idea really was to be the eyes and hands of a lot of people who wouldn't get the opportunity, as like saying before, to actually find out what's going on in the harbours, but feeling that we have a duty to share that as widely as possible. And so that whether it's members of the public or academics or whoever, policymakers, get that information out there so that people can actually use it and trust it and use it. So we established a bit of a project plan and held a launch meeting at the beginning of March, so only 18 months ago, and we've achieved a hell of a lot since then. The first part of the project is really just dipping in wherever we can, doing some intertidal stuff as well, and recording as much as we can as a baseline of, well, this is what we found at these sites, and then identify 5 or 6 key sites to then do some more regular monitoring over about a 5-year programme. So we're just coming to the end of phase 1, and let's try this again. And we've gathered loads of data, and Katherine mentioned about how important it is for that data to be reliable and the best quality that we can. And DEFRA have produced a really user-friendly online resource, and that's the link there in the. Have you heard of that, Katherine? Is that what you were on about? Anyway, about citizen science and some best practice advice. And I would, if you are thinking about running a project, I would definitely recommend you have a look at that, and just it gives you some useful pointers of how to make sure that your projects run on a good basis. So we, I say, held the meeting in March. We gathered together a load of, invited a load of people to come from different organisations, some of the sailing clubs, the harbour masters, Hampshire Wildlife Trust, you know, anyone and everyone that we thought might be interested. And I was amazed that we had 60, 70 people from about 30 different organisations came along to the launch night, and some were able to present as well, which was great. And then you go into all the survey planning, all the data quality management, risk assessments and permissions. We had to seek permissions from both harbour masters because you're diving in the harbour. We gathered together some funding, 2 grants, which perhaps I'll talk about in the new year, to help fund some equipment and also some training and boat fuel and things like that. And then how were we going to report, how were we going to share that information with, you know, working on a website, social media, Facebook pages and things like that, but actually getting to know our community and those who have an interest in Langstone and Chichester harbours, and the response has been phenomenal. So the one important thing next to your project name is, of course, you've got to have a logo as well. So I think you saw that on the first slide. Reporting how to conduct our surveys, how to share that data and record it accurately. So we've got a couple of tools that we use as sort of sharing that data. Sea Search is one of them, which records the habitats as well as the species, but is almost for us a way of just getting that initial information of what the site looks like. We're also using iNaturalist, which is an online app. It's very, very easy to use, and you'll see a little bit of that in a minute. and that ends up in a national database. If people are having a peer review, are happy that it's the right species, it will end up in the database, which is great. The Environment Agency have given us this, you can see like the little torpedo thing with sensors on it to record things like salinity, pH, water temperature, turbidity and things like that. So before and after every dive we take measurements and they just get sent to the EA in a spreadsheet. That's all they need. But we have a lot of data, which principally I'm keeping on a spreadsheet, but it is obviously backed up and everything. But by putting it on the various apps and into Sea Search and things like that, that data then gets shared more widely. And I've put thousands of images. It's actually tens of thousands of images. And the amount of storage is something you might need to think about depending on how you go about your survey. We had a group of very interested and supportive club members, and we recognised that some of them needed some training. We ran the BSAC underwater surveyor course and trained 17 people, which was great. It came out about the same time as we were starting the project, so it was a good way of getting them on board. And most people actually just want to do the doing, not the writing or the reporting or all that sort of thing. But you need those hands, so that's really good. We also used some of the funding to cover the Sea Search Observer and Surveyor courses, and we've used some of the funding as well to do a QGIS course for a couple of members, so that's really useful when you're reporting things as well. Here's some of the equipment on top of this. There's your usual dive equipment and a boat if you're doing stuff at sea. That image on the where it's on the right to you is the sensors in the sonde unit and the display, which is picking up things like dissolved oxygen and stuff like that. Top, we've got an SMB with a GPS attached to it, so we can, if we're doing drift ice, we can measure accurately where we've started and finished. But usual stuff, tape measures, quadrats, and a Secchi disc for turbidity as well, for underwater visibility. Risks and hazards. I've got a very detailed risk assessment, mainly because we do it anyway, but Chichester Harbour in particular is absolutely rammed full of boats, and we had to produce quite a very detailed risk assessment in order to win the confidence of the harbour master to give us permission to dive. Basically, recreational diving such as this hasn't happened in the harbour for over 20 years. So to win over their trust to be able to do it safely, we had to, spend a lot of time persuading them that, we knew what we were doing, and organising with him not to dive at weekends, not to dive in the school holidays, etc. The timing was everything as far as he was concerned. But he did, lay on patrol boats for us as well to keep us safe. So, and now we can't do enough for him. So it's really good. He's totally on board with us now. Other risks are obviously the pollution from the major sewage treatment plant, and also mud. If you're doing intertidal surveys as well, it can be firm underfoot, on one step, and the next step it's up to your up to your knees, so you've got to be careful. So those are the sort of things that we had to watch out for and address in our risk assessment. So what have we achieved in the 18 months since we first took to the waters? This is Langston Harbour on the left and Chichester Harbour on the right, for those who are not familiar with the area. And all the little red dots are either dive sites or survey sites, and some of them are the positions of where we've just, reported one or two things, but they might be a pin that includes 50 different reports. So it doesn't give you quite an indication, but we did manage 29 dives and 17 dive sites, and then 38 intertidal surveys. One of them in particular is probably half of those, but because it was just such a diverse site that we kept going back to. Yeah, 11 intertidal sites. So gives you an indication of where we've been, some in the middle in the channels, but also a lot around the outside as well. So this is a screenshot from iNaturalist. You can see there, for those two harbours, we've put in 641 observations, 239 species, and I still have more to add. And this is a searchable website. It's really easy to use. You can have it interrogate a map. You can have it as a grid, which is what you're seeing here. So this is, what have we got? 8 of the 641 observations. So it goes on for pages and pages. We've recorded 17 invasive or non-native species. And I'm a little sensitive about using that language, but it is a recognised term. But it's new to the area, is a bit more how I like to describe it to the public anyway. 9 priority species such as seahorses and that sort of thing, and 6 priority habitats as well. But the surprising thing was that at least 30% of the species that we recorded had not been recorded on the national database, which is called NBN Atlas. There's a link there for it, as in being present in these harbours. So it's probably nearer 40%, but certainly I'm comfortable with 30% of species never have been recorded in the national database. So you can see how much of a deficit in terms of data there really is about what's living in these two harbours. A quick breakdown of the types of species that we found. A majority were mollusks and seaweeds and crustaceans and that sort of thing. 10% were fish, and then you go into the smaller brown seaweeds. Other things like sea spiders are counted in there. We found a couple of those, which we weren't expecting. An unsegmented worm, which had never been recorded along the south coast as well, fits in there. So quite a rich and diverse. I don't know how that is representative of, say, other harbours or the sea in general. I'm not quite sure, but that's something to think about perhaps. Is this an indication of good diversity or not? Is a question to ask. So here's some of the 17 species that are new to our waters. One of the sea spiders, quite a few different seaweeds and bryozoans and things like that. A couple of very big Pacific oyster reefs, and they are certainly getting a hold in both harbours over recent years. Some sea squirts as well there. So one of the major reasons for doing all this, of course, is not just to allow those who would be able to use the data for scientific or research purposes, but also to share with the general public what's going on. And I invited one of our Langstone Harbour board members, the vice chair, to come on an intertidal survey. And this is a quote from something when he was reporting back to his colleagues about how it all gone. And he described things as some pretty, most ugly, some with shells, many gooey to touch, all colours of the rainbow, shapes and sizes. So that was quite a win for me, in terms that he'd been sort of blown away by what just a simple walk along the beach could do. So here we are, pretty. This is a Mediterranean fanworm, which is on the upper reaches of its extent. As the waters are warming, it appears to be more popular along the south coast, and we're doing a separate project on this. Ugly, everyone hates the congers, poor things. So that's those. Some with shells, a mixture of mollusks, but also crustaceans, got shells, of course. This is just a small sample of what we're seeing. And gooey, you know, usual sea squirts and anemones and things like that. All colours of the rainbow, to work hard to get the light blue. I'm sure there are some light blue ones, but I couldn't quite turn to hand. But yeah, we've managed to capture all the colours of the rainbow there, and all different shapes and sizes, everything from marine mammals, the seals in the harbours, to, you know, very delicate little crabs and very delicate little sponges as well, that are all lacy and very pretty. There were things that we found we didn't expect to find, like this lovely anemone shrimp on the snake locks. You know, I've known they've been down at Swanage and Babbacombe for many years, but I find them in the channel in Langstone Harbour was a real eye-opener, and we found them at 3 other sites as well. So a real surprise for me and delight to see that one. But we also found some more distressing things, really, I guess. There's a very horrible barnacle called the crab hacker barnacle, which goes into the whole of the normal green crabs and takes over it. The crab effectively becomes a zombie while it hosts this barnacle. And we've actually found in one area 80% of the green crabs have this barnacle. It's not got a shell or anything, but that's the egg sac that's underneath the tail. And so there are perils. Effectively, there are issues that are causing this. It's not necessarily the pollution. There are other, just, you know, being a crab in Langstone Harbour has its challenges, and we are a bit concerned that the population is about to collapse. Again, another thing we're going to look into in the future. So the big question that Rob Bailey, this chap from the Harbour Board, said to me is the marine life in our harbours thriving, surviving, dying? And I guess we won't know, but Paul Tunis is helping to find out the answer, really by establishing the baseline and then monitoring in the future years. We can actually, there'll be a mixture. Some things are surviving, some things are thriving, but there are things as well that are under pressure for sure. And by sharing that data, we'll be able to hopefully inform some scientific study, research that will help answer the question. So I've just put on there a couple of ways that you can follow our project. iNaturalist, you'll be able to see all the different species that we've seen and where. I've got a Facebook page that we post from time to time, and our website on the NAS Project Portunus webpage. So I think that's about it. Oh, funding and support. So we had 2 grants and a donation. A grant from the Solent Forum and Sea Changes, and a donation from the Clean Harbours Partnership, which helped raise £3,250 to help pay for boat fuel, equipment, training, that sort of thing. We've still got a bit of money left, but I'll be using that to do some of next year's work, but also be looking to raise some more money as well to perhaps cover the next 5 years. So I think that's it. Yeah, stop sharing. Happy to answer questions if we have. I rattled through that. I honestly did rattle through that.
Yeah, no, you did. It was amazing though, Ali. Thank you. I had no idea there was so much life in a harbour. It's incredible, and
that picture
really
behind me. That picture behind me is just off at the top of a pontoon on one of their visitor pontoons in the harbour. It was just so diverse.
A great project, a really good project. So I suppose any of us near harbours could actually do this then, and then you could start comparing between different harbours.
You could do it anywhere, actually. Rivers, lakes, you know, it can be done anywhere. It's just it's really having that. What puzzles me, what I'm finding curious, is likely to be the same for other people. I didn't know what's down there. Why don't we go and have a look? And I think once you capture that imagination, then you actually begin to find out what's there. It becomes totally addictive.
Yes. I know, and the some of the analysis you've done and what you've used is great. But has anyone got any questions? I'm sure Freya will have really enjoyed this because she's not long done her marine biology degree. So I bet that's bringing it all to life. Freya, you can go and do a project like that. It'd be great.
Well, I'm not normally, my background is in rec projects and investigating that sort of thing, but it's whatever piques my interest, and this one just happens to be marine life. Although we have done marine life reports, as sea search reports and things on all of the rec projects we've done, this one's sort of taken over this time, whatever the purpose of the dive is, really.
Any questions from any marine champions and the or the analysis that they used, or actually some of the equipment was really interesting that got used. I don't know if anyone's got any questions on any of that.
I've stunned them all.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. There's one. I don't know if Freya's around to. I know we said that we were going to let Freya do the chat. So a die saying,
yes.
Oh, there we go. Freya, do you want to do your bit? There's a question that's come into chat.
Yeah, Di's asking, I would be interested in adopting this for the River Dee and Holyhead Harbour, etc. Would there be something we can just adopt? ?
There's a whole ocean out there. You can use this as a template if you like. But it needs to be a little bit tailored for where you are. But River Dee, Holyhead Harbour, fine. You'll just need to make sure you speak to whoever's in charge of the River Dee or Holyhead Harbour and just make sure that they're happy, or work with them to make sure that they're happy that you do that. As I say, Chichester, Langston were fine. but Chichester, because of the amount of shipping, of boat traffic and things like that, they were very wary initially. But yeah, just work with them.
Ali, would you be happy if some of the Marine Champions did actually to contact you directly to kind of just do a bit of a template with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it needs to be your own idea, where and what you're looking to discover, because that's what it is about, discovery. And I'm quite happy to, spend an hour or two, however long it takes really, to explain how you might go about it. But it needs to be the thing that you want to learn about.
Yeah, great. Love it. Freya,
Sarah's just asking if a copy of the presentation will be available somewhere.
Well, the whole thing's being recorded, so you'll be able to see it once it gets shared out, won't it?
Yeah, I think what we'll do for everybody is we'll ensure that we put it on the website. So each time we do one of these, we will put the recording up with the supporting presentations. So we'll make sure we do that.
Oh, okay. The links. I'll put them in the chat.
Yes, you could do that as well. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Name the same type of species recording and water monitoring would be equally valuable.
Oh, yes. Sorry, that was just me. A couple of people were commenting that they were in landlocked areas. So I was just saying that obviously have to be tailored a bit, but there's still like really valuable stuff that you can collect from freshwater as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of emphasis, I don't know about in other parts of the country, but certainly down here, there's a recognition that the rivers and streams and all that feed into the harbours and the sea. So what's happening, whether it's agricultural runoff or what, etc., or pollution generally, what's happening upstream impacts on the harbours anyway. So it's all part of the same network. Just because it's Marine Champion, it doesn't mean to say it can't be water more generally.
And I think also, Ali, and all of you, we could do some twinning. We could do some invite, as we sort of get moving forward, we could actually share the projects, and then you could actually go, Marine Champs from landlocked could go along and help. I'm sure over a weekend or do some diving. So I think absolutely. There's Mel's asking anyone in landlocked would be welcome to join activities on the coast. So that would be great. I think if we could do a bit of that and sharing of knowledge and ideas, that would be amazing. That'd be a really good thing to do, because that's really successful with some of our clubs as well that are struggling. We can we're sharing, pool sharing and doing different things. So this would be equally great to do. Brilliant. Good. Well, thank you, Ali. That was really interesting. Yeah, I'm still quite surprised I think we might have to get you doing some presentations at conference and things, because I just think people don't even think about harbours really.
No, they're much overlooked. But years ago, like I said, that's where people went.
Yeah.
Okay,
brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll mute myself now then.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, and then we're just coming now on to Eric, and Eric is going to be talking about the Great Seagrass Survey. So Eric was the founder of this and has a great passion for seagrass, like I think everybody does now. But Eric was certainly one of the earlier sort of pioneers of seagrass and its and what it can do for the environment. So Eric, if you're okay, we're going to hand on to you to tell us all about the survey.
Sure, I'd like to share my screen.
You. Perfect. Yeah, we can see it, Eric. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, Mary, for that introduction. Yeah, my name's Eric, and I was involved in setting up the first seagrass restoration project in Scotland, and also introduced into the UK a really successful seagrass restoration technique that we learnt from my home in Canada. So it's nice to kind of bring that connection from my past over to the UK. Yeah, co-designed the Great Seagrass Survey as well as the BSAC Underwater Survey course. So I am really passionate about seagrass, and kind of that was kind of why the Great Seagrass Survey came into effect. So people hear a lot about declining marine habitats, and this one about seagrass is often quoted saying that we've lost 95% of the seagrass in the UK over time. And while I think it's very likely that we've had a huge loss of seagrass over time, it's really hard to understand how we can come up with a number like that when we know so little about the current state of our seagrass. You can go on maps like NBN Atlas that Ali was sharing and kind of look for where seagrass locations are. But since the start of the Great Seagrass Survey, having run it for 2 years, we've mapped over 1,000 hectares of seagrass over 125 different locations. And a lot of those were new locations, unmapped, unrecorded, and national databases. So that just kind of highlights, unless we know what the current state is, how can we kind of compare that to a past state that we know even less about? So it would have been great if we had more information about the past, but as I say, it's never too late to start. So the more information we can get now, the better. I should probably just say this is just going to be kind of a short introduction to underwater survey, the Great Seagrass Survey, because I believe in the new year having a more deep dive into Operation Oyster and Great Seagrass Survey as to kind of how to go through the processes, the more techniques behind that. So what we're looking to do is kind of get a more baseline of the current conditions of seagrass across the UK. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. Ali mentioned previously iNaturalist, and there's another one called iRecord that you can submit observations to. There's Seagrass Spotter, the Sea Search forums, and well, I'm not here to dismiss any of those because I think they all have their place. I'm a Sea Search surveyor myself. Whenever I go on holiday, I create a iNaturalist project to record all the species I see when I'm traveling. But a lot of those projects only really record presence. And while that's really useful, having a dot on the map, we're trying to expand that and get more data, more information about seagrass. So one thing that we do in Great Seagrass Survey is also able to report absence data. So if you go on a dive or snorkel and don't see seagrass, then it's actually really useful to record that too. Now, if you're going for a dive, a recreational dive, and you're going deeper than 10 meters, then you're not expecting to see seagrass there, that you don't have to put an absence report for every location. But if you go somewhere shallow and sheltered with a muddy or sandy sediment, you think, hey, there could be seagrass there, but there isn't. It could be worth kind of flagging that, and that could be a good indication that while there's no seagrass there at present, maybe there was in the past, and it's worth exploring maybe if there was a decline in that location. The other thing we're looking to do is not just record presence, but get more area coverage so we can know the size of seagrass patches rather than just a dot on the map. And then going beyond that again, we're actually looking to assess the condition of the seagrass, learn a little bit more about the health of the habitat. Are there any negative pressures on it? Is it flourishing and thriving? And that kind of comes to, it's not just about discovering new seagrass. There's a lot of use in Great Seagrass Survey to look at existing seagrass meadows and monitor their condition over time, be that mapping to see if the bed is expanding or shrinking, or doing habitat health, seeing if the density is changing, if there's other species moving in or out of the habitat. And that's where BSAC divers and you champions are in a great place to undertake this work. And you guys are the ones who are in the water doing these recordings. A lot of scientists these days really don't have a chance to go in situ and look at the conditions. So using the skills that you guys have as divers to take part is really great. If you don't mind occasionally doing a shallower dive than you may be used to, the seagrass we're looking at, Zoster marina, is a subtidal seagrass, but is still needing light, kind of only grows down to about 10 meters, and our turbid water is often even shallower than 5 meters. But if you have a high tide, then you could have 10 meters water above you. There's other seagrasses that live more intertidally, and it's great to do that as well. That may be more the realm for snorkelers or even some waders doing it safely in the mud. But for this, we're welcome taking observations for all types, but kind of as divers, you're kind of more likely to come into the subtidal Zoster marina. And then we designed the underwater surveyor course with BSAC to try to give more recreational divers the skills to undertake marine surveys. And it's hard to know, did we create Great Seagrass Survey to give something for underwater surveyors to do, or did we create underwater surveyor because we needed skilled people to do Great Seagrass Survey? But really they were designed around the same time, and they really complement each other. So if you haven't already done the underwater survey course, this is a great way to kind of gain some more of those practical skills that will help you do Great Seagrass surveys in the future. So we mentioned kind of a bit briefly about how the Great Seagrass Survey is different from some other science projects by trying to take a deeper dive into the extent and the health of the seagrass meadows. But really, the Great Seagrass Survey is about data collection. We're trying to make it as easy as possible, but we're trying to get good quality data that is useful. And so we have people out there doing citizen science, made a portal for submitting that data to BSAC, where then it goes through all the kind of data verification, processing, and then the really important thing is making sure that data isn't just held in an archive somewhere with BSAC and not seen by others, but really shared widely. So it is open access to all the data that is produced. The picture on your right is showing that the data is available at data.gov.uk, so it's kind of gone nationally. If you Google it, you can also find that it's available at data.europa.eu, so it's gone kind of in a continental wide, and it's also available on the orbis.org portal, which is an international ocean observation biodiversity data set. So really getting that data set out there and shared with anybody who really can benefit from using it, scientists, other citizen science, so we can really share that data. So we think that's a really important thing, that it's gone through an entire data journey, and eventually data does take time, but you'll find it on things like the NBN Atlas that Ali mentioned previously. So on the BSAC webpage, there is the Great Seagrass Survey form. I'm not going to go into the details of how to fill that out now, because I think we'll have another webinar in the new year about that, but I gave a link there to where the form can be located, but also the Great Seagrass mini page within the site as well, which has a lot of information that you can read in your own time about why we're doing it, how to do it, different techniques and things like that. So a lot of resources on the right-hand side of the web page and kind of reading more about it. But really, the Great Seagrass Survey is available for year-round data collection. We want people to be submitting that data whenever they go on dives and find seagrass or find seagrass locations that don't seem to have seagrass that they expected. So it is available year round like that. But we also in the past created a weekend to really try to push and promote the Great Seagrass Survey, kind of focus the attention on it, get some publicity, and try to get clubs and members out diving and looking for seagrass. So you may find there's a date publicized for 2025 about going off and doing it, but doesn't mean you're limited to just doing it on that weekend. There's lots of opportunities to get involved, try to arrange surveys with your clubs for that. So that's a kind of whirlwind stop of Great Seagrass Survey, and just leave it on a beautiful image of seagrass and stop and ask if people have any questions. I'll stop sharing my screen here.
Love that photo. That's beautiful. A lovely photo, Eric, that last one. We might need to use that on a front cover of something. Yeah, it might be stealing some of all your photos tonight. I don't know, Freya, were there any in chat? Any questions for Eric? That was really useful,
None
Eric.
popped up for me.
Okay.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I've dropped the links that were in the end of the presentation there that Eric was referring to the information on the Great Seagrass Survey and the how to submit the thing. Those links are in the chat for everyone. But yeah, thanks. That was really interesting, like, overview of Great Seagrass Survey. Hopefully people are kind of keen to think about like putting a date in their diary to do that next year.
Yes.
Samantha, is the Seagrass Survey just UK or worldwide? Sorry, you might have said. Apologies if I missed it.
I didn't say. I mean, it's for like the use I was needing it for. Why the data was important is because really don't have those answers for the UK. So that's kind of where the focus is. Obviously, I guess BSAC has centres, clubs in other countries, sort of thing. So they are welcome to submit that data. The people working behind the scenes to process that might have a bit more challenge in getting that data through the journey, sort of thing, if they're less familiar with the processes in other countries. But yeah, I guess there's more clubs focused in the UK, but yeah, kind of leave it like that.
Sarah's asking, are there any particular strongholds for seagrass in the UK?
Well, in seagrass, there's kind of Zostra marina, which is typically the subtidal seagrass that we get. There's Zostra noltai, which is more called dwarf eelgrass. It's more in the really shallow subtidal mudflat sort of. So those are two quite distinct species. There's Rupier species, which is kind of called a ditchweed. So it can be in very brackish waters in more estuarine environments, can be up to quite fresh. So there's quite a range of different habitats that those species can handle. Generally, being a photosynthetic plant, they all need light. So there's a depth range that they can manage. And that really also depends on turbidity. If the water is really murky, then it has to be quite shallow. In some places, like in the Mediterranean, it can go down to 40 meters because it's so clear, but those aren't like the conditions that we experience in the UK. Some of the larger areas of seagrass will be in your large estuarine mudflat areas where you can get hundreds of hectares of it. That would be the dwarf eelgrass type. Often depends on the amount of exposure that it has to wave energy and things as well. So that can destroy, rip up seagrass or make it grow deeper. Up here on the west coast of Scotland, for me, a lot of seagrass is scattered in very shallow or sheltered sea locks. So they can be very small little patches of habitat. So there might not be hundreds of hectares, but you might find tens of hectares kind of scattered wherever the habitat is suitable and kind of can find that niche. So quite a range of places you can go look for it. But probably generally under 5 meters with a bit of shelter and a muddy, sandy sediment.
Mark is saying, is there any time of year where seagrass flourishes?
Again, as a flowering plant, it needs needs light. So a lot of them grow and reproduce during the summer months and die back to either smaller leaves, or they lose the leaves and kind of just the rhizomes under the ground remain. So surveying in winter is a lot harder for seagrass, and this is kind of why important when you commit citizen science data, you have the date attached to it, so you kind of know when it was done, because the density will vary a lot between winter and summer as well.
And then Mel's asking, is there a map of seagrass locations that we know, so we are aware when we come across seagrass, if it's a new or established location?
Sometimes not all data is easily shared. There's a link there for Natural England. Scotland may have a different one, so you might have to find different ones for Wales. NBN Atlas is a great one for just point data where seagrass is. So most of that data should also be on NBN Atlas, so you can at least find out where the seagrass points are. It won't actually tell you the size and stuff like that we're trying to find out in this project.
I think that's it for the questions I can see that haven't been answered in the chat.
Thank you. I think just one. Yeah, so I think, Eric, I think people are quite keen to get involved in a seagrass project. So perhaps when you are organising anything, you can share it with the Marine Champions, and again, certainly the landlocked, but any of us. I know I went up to Scotland and did some with the Seawilding project when you were involved with that, which was absolutely brilliant, and loved it. Still kind of, think about it. And so I think anything that's going on, do share. And it's certainly, if you want volunteers, and I know Katherine gets involved in things as well. So that would, they're saying definitely. So I think if we could do some volunteering, I think we'd all love it. All of us. So yes, so we're there, Eric, when you need us to do some monitoring.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and those pictures of all of them tonight have kind of made me want to go off and do. I think I might become a citizen science person in my spare time.
Yeah, the power of citizen science is in the numbers. So the more people we can get out there getting data, cover a large area of the UK. There's a lot of coastline to cover. Yeah,
exactly. Yes. So there's certainly some useful links being put into chat, Freya, aren't there? So I think we'll make sure we kind of keep these tracked, but and share them. But I think Katherine, yes, over to you, Katherine.
I was just going to say, I've seen in the chat somebody asked whether there was going to be a date set for next year for the survey weekend. So yes, good prompt. We need to make sure that we organise and promote that again. And I have said, watch this space for the date. Historically, it's been done the late May bank holiday, because like someone said, in terms of time of year, that's often when the seagrass is starting to grow up really well and quite a nice time to be in the water. So yeah, we'll just have a little, consider kind of behind the scenes, just how that will fit with the, other things that are going on. But yes, we'll definitely watch the space, and also we'll noted to make sure that we share any volunteering opportunities.
Great. Yeah, and it would be a really good opportunity for us all to meet up, wouldn't it, for Marine Champions to meet up, and a great PR story as well. So that would be good. Oh, Mel's asking so Freya, she's just asking about a useful database could be kept by BSAC. Yep. Okay. So I might just let Katherine update you on that, because it's coming soon. Watch this space.
Am I going to say watch this space again?
Yeah.
Everything is sort of so new and kind of happening. So yeah, really sort of developing as you guys are kind of getting started. So yes, that is something that is in development. I'm hoping we'll be able to give you all the details in the January meeting. Is kind of our cross fingers aim for that if things go well and we get all the tech sorted. Yeah,
I think that's kind of down to some of the staff at HQ. So a lot of you all know, will have heard about Sport 80, and it's taken up so much of our time. But I think we're just coming out of it now. The sort of haze of transforming across to a new IT system. So I'm hoping that we can drop back on to some of this exciting work, really, and move Pat on from sort of coming out about Sport 80 to some exciting projects like this. So I think just checking if there's, yes, so some of those links that have been put in are really useful networks. So when you start doing stuff in your areas as marine champs, that these some of these links I don't know about, so it's really useful, the knowledge that's being shared here. I think we are looking at some sort of separate website as well, Katherine, aren't we, where all of this can get put, so we can start building a bit of a community for marine champs, and actually maybe even have a platform at some point where that's where we sort of share everything.
Yeah, we're quite aware that the sort of Protect Our Seas part of the BSAC website at the moment is quite sort of clunky and full of lots of information and not very easy to navigate around. So hopefully come the new year, we'll be able to, like Mary said, reveal a new platform that's going to hopefully allow you to access the information that you want. And like Mary said, kind of communicate, but not be kind of like wading through loads of stuff. That's the
aim. So just trying to see if there's any other questions at all. Any comments? Is there anything that you'd like us to? I mean, obviously we're still new and moving things forward. So is there anything you'd like more of, or any sort of feedback on anything? Is this sort of useful what we're doing? Oh, Ali's got a question. Thanks, Alison.
Thanks for doing the insurance thing. That's quite useful, because certainly, like I said, when I had the chap from the Langstone Harbour Board accompanying me, you know, so I now realise I should have put something up to headquarters, but right. Well, you know, those sort of things. So whilst I was very comfortable with all the diving side of things being buttoned down in risk assessments, I will need to work on intertidal and other events sort of thing. Yeah. The MCS one for litter picks is pretty good, so I'll be drawing on that. Even though it's a survey, I can just change litter pick to survey. But a lot of them are the same. There's one or two probably that's a bit more specific for us that I can add in, but I think that was a good place to start. I think that's that was very useful to do that, because I think we just imagine that insurance will cover us, whatever. We don't even think about it, do we, really? No. Unless it's underwater. But I think
no, thanks for that. And I think what was useful was I think we got 4 or 5 questions on it that evening, and so went off and realized that was something that needs to be done. And I think we absolutely, there should be a risk assessment, because there have been sad stories where people have gone litter picking, something that you would think would just be very easy to do, and sadly have ended up with some issues with the tide coming in and just not being aware of it. So absolutely, it just focuses your mind on thinking about these things without making it so kind of so insurance based that people don't want to do things. But I think it is a useful thing to do, absolutely. So we'll keep showing that. So I think I saw a question that came up from Kerry. Sorry, and then I'll come to you, Freya. I think you had a question, or
no.
I was just
saying that Kerry had a question.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Thank you both. So any tips or advice, I emailed our local authority about adopting the motion for the ocean. The response has been a little bit scarce, but I have chased and persisted. They've come back with the motion is far too long and asks the council to commit to much more than I think it should, which is quite interesting. And it won't be accepted by the other groups. Has anybody come across this, and how have you worked around it or dealt with it in a way that's got a positive result?
So I can help a bit, and then I'll so basically it's your county councillor that should link in with you, Kerry, and that I suppose the pushback is that I think they're up to 42 county councils have adopted it with that particular motion at that length. So so that's quite an interesting pushback to you from them. Which council is it?
It's Northamptonshire. And what they've come back with is that they need the Greens and also Reform to agree.
Okay, so that's not right. So just so you know, that is they can, that one county councillor can take it through. They do not need Reform and Green to agree it. But what we could do, Kerry, for you is so we've got Emily Cunningham, who is the pioneer of this and put it together, the whole scheme. So it's her sort of project, and she just got an MBE for it. She'll love this because she loves getting in there and taking on a challenge. So would you be happy for me? Could you put your email address, or should I put mine and you drop me an email, and then we'll take it offline and we'll go off to Emily, and Emily will support you and absolutely and do it with you.
Fantastic.
Or even take it on and fight it for you, because that's not right what they're saying.
No.
So that's that. Yeah. So let me give you my email and we'll get on with that.
Thanks, Mary. That's perfect.
Yeah, exciting. We love a bit of a challenge.
Me too.
So yeah.
Yes.
No
is not the answer.
No, exactly. So there we go. Drop me an email and we'll take it offline.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, Freya. I think there's a couple more that have come up for you.
I think people are just
Commenting, are
a
they?
few people sharing their stories about their local council, how they haven't emailed back. And then Mary's just asking if anyone's interested in seagrass might like to look at the Ocean Conservation Trust Blue Meadows project, which is growing and planting seagrass. And then Mel's just put in some beach clean risk assessment templates and everything. So yeah, very helpful little links and questions.
Perfect. That's quite interesting. That one. So on the county councillors, don't let them off. That's what we voted them in to. I live with one, a county councillor. So I'm just checking you can't hear me. But anyway, so I know that so their role, they are voted in to do exactly this kind of thing. So don't let them say no. So Lucy, keep pushing. So just keep emailing, because you know that's what they're there to do. Exactly this type of thing. Absolutely, and paid to do it as well. So in the nicest possible way, just but you know, in a nice way. But I think just gently keep reminding them, because it's such an easy thing for them to do, to be honest, and it just starts it off at community level, which you know and can really make a difference. So definitely keep going gently, but again, email me if you don't get any help, and then Emily Cunningham will happily jump onto it and help you and support you with that one. Brilliant. Good. There's some great stuff in chat tonight. Thanks everybody. Anything else? I'll sort of think I'll hand to our chair, to Katherine, to see if there's anything else, or just to wrap up, and I'll just check my notes from Ali check that I've done
Perfect.
everything.
If there's anything else, yeah. In the meantime, yeah, massive thank you to everyone for coming along, and thanks. Yeah, really interesting to hear that so many people went away and took on the motion for the ocean, and then it's really good to hear the feedback that's coming. And even if the feedback has been that you've been able to get some pushback, if Mary's now able to get the help to keep moving that forward, then hopefully that's a really useful use of this forum. So yeah, really thanks for bringing that along. Thanks to both of our speakers, to Ali and to Eric. They were both really, really interesting projects. Alison, I really love all the things that you recorded that were kind of new species to the waters. I always think that's the thing that I first loved about citizen science. You could find something that was new that hadn't been recorded before, and it made me actually feel like an explorer. So that kind of reminded me about why I got into it and why I liked doing that. And then had to find out more about what all those gooey things were and learn that they weren't just dirt, they were animals. And then you were like, oh, there's a whole exciting journey of citizen science there. So that's brilliant, thank you. And also thank you to Eric for giving us that introduction to the Great Seagrass Survey. I'm hoping Eric might come back and take us through a little bit more of the detailed one in terms of how to actually do the surveying. But it was good to see some good responses in the chat there. People are interested in taking part in the surveys, taking part in the weekends, and also interested in getting volunteering in some seagrass survey work, or maybe on some of the seagrass projects. So that's really great to see. So thank you both so much for your time this evening and for coming along. And thank you to everyone else on the call for for coming along this evening, for supporting Marine Champions, for keeping things rolling. We were sitting here all nervously at 5 to 7, will anybody join? Will anyone join? And it's been an amazing turnout. So brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. Brilliant. I'll hand back to Mary and see if she found any other last notes, and we can sign off.
I'm under strict instructions, aren't we? So she said to obviously thank Freya, who's our student rep, who for doing the chat. And I think Freya, you're going to get some more jobs to do. So from Ali. So I'll meet up with you to kind of do that, and we can chat about it, Freya. But so thanks, Freya, for doing that. So I think that is everything. I think I've put the webinar, the next dates, into chat, and we will be sending round update on everything. And keep emailing, let us know if you want to do more things. And we're really enjoying this group, and it's really nice to do something positive. And I think, and hopefully we will we will absolutely make a difference. And I think next year, if we can all get together on some different things, it will be great. I think we can get a real movement. I'm really quite excited about it, from sort of BSAC's point of view, working with you all. And we have got the dive show coming up. So we're looking at, I think what we're thinking, Katherine, is that we'll get everyone together at the dive show, aren't we? We've got a room that we've got at the dive show, and thinking that anybody, if they want to come along, we could do a bit of a workshop, maybe get a speaker for the dive show as well. Get Andy Talbot to come along and meet you all, because he was number 50 in the Marine Champions, and he's really keen to kind of get things moving as well. So I think we'll let you know about that, and see if some of you could come to the show, which would be great as well, to meet up. I think Emily Cunningham would be there, who's obviously the founder of Motion for the Ocean. I know she'd love to meet you all. So I think that the dive show could be good, and that's only end of February, so it's not far away. So we'll keep you posted on that. And I know there was someone that from Stratford, landlocked in Stratford. Emily's actually from Stratford, so just goes to show, completely landlocked, and there she is now. But she does live now somewhere quite idyllic in Devon somewhere, or somewhere right next to the sea. But so she'll be at the dive show, so I think it'd be a great place to catch up. We'll let you know about that. Brilliant. Well, thank you everybody, really appreciate it. And thanks to our speakers. And I think if that's it, and there's no more questions or anything, we'll be in touch, and have a lovely Christmas, and we'll look forward to seeing you all in January with all those new marine resolutions.